This is Standing Watch. And now, Evangelist Norbert Link.
Greetings everyone and welcome back to our Standing Watch program. What is in store for 2019? What can we expect to happen? Now I have here several articles which I pulled, which are quite interesting in what they have to say about what they feel may happen. Euroactiv wrote on December 27 that Europeans had relied on treaties dating from the final days of the Cold War arms race, possibly thinking they are iron cast. Not at all. It came rather as a shock that the United States declared it would pull out of the 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, the INF, unless Moscow withdraws its new cruise missile system 9M729, but Russia's nuclear-capable missiles are mobile, difficult to detect, and can target cities in Europe with little warning. Russia wants to negotiate a new treaty which could include China's nuclear missile arsenal. The United States delivered Russia a 60-day ultimatum on December 4 to come clean about what Washington says is a violation of an arms control treaty that keeps missiles out of Europe. The EU, once again, is somewhere in between. And then the article points out that Europe needs an army, a strong army, that it has to improve its military capabilities. And my comment is, according to the Bible, Europe will have a very strong European army in the very near future. Here's an article by the EU Observer, dated December 31. Carl Bildt, the former foreign minister of Sweden, tweeted on December 25, "The US president is now in open conflict with the US Congress, the US Federal Reserve, the US Secretary of Defense, China, the EU, the WTO, and a couple of others, but otherwise, it's okay." Trump's actions, again, this article says, of course written from a European perspective, show the US under its leadership is increasingly unreliable. It all follows a pattern of deteriorating transatlantic ties. More military conflict due to the power vacuum left in the Middle East could bring higher migration flows. 2019 could be an even more turbulent year for transatlantic ties and global stability. This all the more so given that Trump's room to maneuver in domestic policy will be constrained after the opposition Democrats took over the House. The Kremlin could be encouraged to make a new military adventure in Ukraine. Free trade also remains at risk, with European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker's ceasefire with Trump is likely to falter. Next year's EU Parliament elections could prove crucial. This requires a broad coalition of pro-EU parties from the left to the right, who support a strong and united EU. It is not so much about ideology, but about survival. It says the EU should continue bringing together like-minded countries. We need a strong EU, this article says. And my comment is, yes, Europe will have a strong core Europe consisting of like-minded or somewhat like-minded countries. And yes, the relationship towards Russia and towards the United States will deteriorate in 2019, make no mistake about it. Deutsche Welle wrote on December 31, 2018 began with many people around the world hoping, somewhat unrealistically, that Merkel and Germany could somehow fill the hole in global leadership left by Trump's America. But as the New Yorker writes correctly, Angela Merkel is not the leader of the free world, nor will she be. And 2019 is already shaping up to be a very unpredictable year, the article says. Again, my comment is it won't be Angela Merkel for sure. But another figure in Austria or in Germany will arise very soon. And he will fill the hole in global leadership. But it won't be the leader of the free world. Because, my friends, the Bible clearly tells you and tells me, if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, that the beast, that very famous military and economic leader mentioned in the book of Revelation, is going to be of German or Austrian descent, and he's going to be the leader of a core Europe of 10 nations or groups of nations, and that person is going to arise very soon. What about Brexit? The Project Syndicate wrote on December 27, day after day, week after week, most British citizens think that the turmoil over their country's proposed exit from the European Union cannot get any worse, but without fail it does. It's fewer than 100 days until the UK leaves the EU. And at the moment there is no deal in sight that is acceptable either to the Europeans or to Theresa May or to the Parliament. A fog of political uncertainty hangs over Britain after Christmas. And it says in any case, no matter what happens, British people will be poorer and Britain will be less influential in the world. Again, my comment, the Bible clearly prophesies there's going to be a Brexit. Britain is going to leave the EU. The reason being, a war is prophesied between continental Europe and Great Britain. So Britain couldn't be part of continental Europe or the EU. Britain's downfall, economically and militarily, is prophesied. And the Week wrote on December 12 that, of course, London will no longer be the financial capital of Europe, and the idea seems to be that it might very well be Frankfurt in Germany, which is already, of course, headquarters to the European Central Bank. Now, what about Russia? We have already heard a little bit about Russia, but the prognostications are not only will they try to create another confrontation with Ukraine with the ultimate goal to take over the Ukraine, and quite frankly, that's what the Bible says it's going to happen. Russia and Ukraine will be together, one power, opposed to Europe. But now they're also thinking in terms of getting quite hostile towards Israel. Breaking Israel News wrote on December 30 that in response to an Israeli airstrike in Syria last Tuesday, Russia threatened to respond to further Israeli action in Syria with surface-to-surface missiles against targets within Israel. An Israeli military intelligence website reported that one such missile was already fired last week. Now again, let me make one thing very clear. There is no indication in the Bible that Russia will launch a full-fledged military attack on Israel prior to the beginning of the Great Tribulation and prior to the European armies occupying Jerusalem. But we do read that Judah will soon receive a wound, which is a military defeat. And you can read that in Hosea chapter 5 and verse 13. And the Bible doesn't say which is the identifying power which is going to cause that wound. But watch for some kind of a military defeat or setback of the Israeli army. Let's also quickly talk about the US economy. CNN Business wrote on December 31 that this is the worst December since the Great Depression, and the second down year for US markets since the financial meltdown of 2008. The market is an historic period of volatility. Volatility has been driven by signs of a global economic slowdown, concerns about monetary policy, political dysfunction, inflation fears, and worries about increased regulation of the technological sector. Fear about a global trade war remains a source of concerns for markets. It says Brexit's impact on the United Kingdom and Europe also worried investors, as did a slowdown in the Chinese economy. The FTSE All-World Index, which tracks thousands of stocks across a range of markets, plummeted 12% this year. It's the index's worst performance since the global financial crisis. We are going to see an economic slowdown in the United States in 2019, as well as around the world. Right now it looks pretty good, but it's not going to continue that way. We are nearing the time the Bible mentions as Great Tribulation. A time so bad that if Jesus Christ would not intervene to save mankind from himself, no human being would survive. If you want to know more about what is actually prophesied, and in all likelihood, starting in 2019, I'm not saying that in 2019 the Great Tribulation will start, but it's going to move towards that. Please ask for our free booklet on the mysteries of the book of Revelation. A lot of what I told you today is covered in this booklet because it's covered in the pages of the Bible. Please ask for a free copy, and until next time, this is Norbert Link for the Standing Watch program.
Standing Watch is a presentation by the Church of the Eternal God, P.O. Box 270519, San Diego, California 92198. More information is also available at our website, eternalgod.org.